There comes a point in our lives when we strive to define our true meaning and purpose. Many of us move through our existence day after day, living through the same cycles and patterns that leave us feeling unfulfilled and searching for more. For those of us seeking a way to transform life, to capture fulfillment in every moment, to redefine how we perceive the truths of our reality so we can live this life to its fullest. This is the Live This Life podcast. And I'm your host, Heath Cummings. I'm here to inspire you to ask yourself the question every day. Are you living? Are you killing time? What's up, everybody? In today's episode, I would like to welcome back for the second time the founder of Evolved Mastery, the host of the Evolved Mastery podcast, the author of Awaken Your Inner Master, The Journey of Self-Mastery, this book right here that I picked up and have not been able to kind of put down when I get into some of my toughest spots, but it's a good book. And the one and only, the definition of the rare breed, Princeton Clark. Welcome back, my friend.
What's going on, brother? Thank you for having me back, man. It's always a pleasure to connect with a brother, who truly has a passion to create change in the world. You're my tribe, man. So thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you back. You're only the second two-timer. I've only had one other person on twice, so you're part of that rare breed, whatever that's worth.
All right. Well, I'm excited to dive into it, man. A lot of things are moving and shaking right now. And I just want to provide some value to your listeners, man, because I want to give a shout out to all the Live This Life podcast listeners out there, because I know Heath has just brought some massive transformative information to you guys. And all of you who continue to show up, I'm just here to serve you guys. And, I always say we're all spirits on a journey having a different human experience, but we get to share in these experiences. So thank you for creating this space for us to do just that.
Yeah, man. This podcast probably wouldn't exist if it weren't for you and I crossing paths. I mean, I definitely attribute everything that's happened the last couple of years to a couple of very, special people. And you're one of them. This whole path that I'm on wouldn't be what it is if you weren't there kind of guiding it from the start. So it's amazing. Like we have our weekly things that I'm on. I'm on one of Princeton's coaching sessions right now, one of his mentorships. And, we talk about it several times already in the 2 or 3 weeks that we've been on, about how we've both watched each other just grow. And I feel like I've just kind of reverberated off of everything that you've had going on. And, even since the last episode that you were on, I believe it was like episode 16, it was early on doing this whole thing. But I mean, you've had a lifetime of stuff go on since that interview, like you just cram lifetimes of stuff into such a small amount of time. I mean, first off, let's talk about the stuff that's gone on with you and Tony Robbins and Dean Graziozi. I mean, you landed your position with them since the last time we chatted.
Oh, man, so much has changed. I feel like I've been I keep saying this, like I've been in a time warp, and you said, lifetimes have happened. And I always tell people, I feel like I've lived multiple lives in one life. But that's just the magic of living a life by choice, and choosing to create this reality. And, so yeah, I got hired and I'm about to say fired. Definitely wasn't fired. Got hired to work with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziozi as the first mastery coach in the new office here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And it just came, like, it manifested pretty much out of nowhere, just via connections. We talk about that 1 degree of separation, like that one connection, like you never know how connected you are to the circle around you, but, or who they're connected to, and so I started working for them. I helped them build out a 6-week coaching program, helped them really develop their mastery program and their sales and scaling, marketing momentum, all that good stuff. But everything started to transition when COVID hit. Of course, everybody started working from home, and I was still working full time for them at that time. And around that time, they were getting ready to go virtual with the KBB 2.0, and they were getting ready to go evergreen. And the riots are happening. Tony had come out, and so, like, just this amazing experience. I've never really been one to be like, oh my God, it's more like wow, like these are people that I've looked up to for a really long time. Cause you know me, like I don't really put anyone above me or below me. You know, again, we're all spirits on a journey having different human experiences. But these two gentlemen, you know, I've had a plethora of experiences that I've gotten to learn from. And now I'm working with them and I'm seeing them every single day. You know, and it's funny when you're actually positioned that way, because you start to realize, like, look, these guys are really no different from you. Like, they got in at a right, it was all timing. You know, they came in at a
Yeah.
time, they seized that opportunity, they seized that moment, much like I was doing in my life. You know, and what the universe, what God, source, spirit, you know, revealed to me was that, you know, every decision that we make, there's an infinite number of possibilities in front of us at any given time. But most people just don't seize the opportunity. You know, who says that I can't be the next, or the next best, you know, or better than Tony Robbins? You know, nobody can quantify that for me. You know, because I live my life and I believe, you know, I'm one of the greatest that's ever lived. You know, and because there's never going to be another me. You know, and so that's just my perception. And so working with them when all that stuff started happening, and you know, I realized that I was focused so much on serving their business and the brand, and you know, the feedback that I was getting from the clients that I was coaching through their programs was like, you know, where have you been? Like, who are you? Like, you know, and so it's like little God winks from the universe saying, okay, like you're still playing it small. Like, you see this as a great opportunity, but you're still playing it small. What happened to your vision? What happened to your brand? Because I'd written my book, I'd published my book, I had started the Evolve Mastery podcast, you know, and then I got hired to work for them. I wasn't promoting my book. I wasn't really doing podcasts, you know, and it's not really until recently that I started really focusing on Evolve Mastery again, because I decided to become a contracted coach for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziozi. I mean, I've gotten to work with some pretty amazing people, but I'm just in that place now, you know, after seeing how they do things internally, how they built their business. You know, I've learned a lot of what to do, but I've also learned a lot of what not to do,
Hmm.
you know, because, you know, I'll be honest, there's a lot of shady stuff that happens within the industry, no matter where you are, you know, and this isn't a ham on anyone. It's just that we're all learning and we're emulating what's for us and what's not for us, and we're taking it to the next level, you know. And so I was provided with an amazing opportunity to do just that, you know, working for them. But I'm slowly transitioning out now, you know, to really focus on my brand, you know, barely utilizing my podcast, now getting ready to promote more podcast episodes, more interviews, and writing my second book that's coming too. You know, and so we'll see if we can beat my record of 2 weeks on the last book.
I guarantee if that's your shot, you're going to do it. I mean, you're going to make your mark. So, I mean, I was just thinking about the magic of it. Like Tony Robbins, you know, Dean Graziosi, these two guys have been in the industry for what, you know, over 20 years now. They've been doing this for a long time.
60
And
years, over 60 years together.
that's amazing, you know, and they are really the top of people who are really looking to do self-improvement and better themselves and become entrepreneurs and everything. And here you are, like, I feel like you're really, since the first time I met you and everybody who I've talked to about you since then, I've said, like, this guy is one of the biggest up and comings. He's you know, from the time that you came out, like, you kind of had quite a few followers. You had a decent following and stuff, but
Hmm.
really Evolve Mastery wasn't a huge thing. It wasn't big yet. It wasn't really making its name. You were just starting out. And then, of all cities these guys could have set up camp, there it is in Scottsdale, like right where you are. And, you know, you get
Hmm.
in there and it's just like, wow, you know, I see you had hit for that. And then you announce that you're kind of gonna step away from it and just be contract. I'm like, wait a minute, this is the show. This is, what are you doing? This is the show, you know? But then seeing what's come on the backside, because you kind of went into that whole thing and then it was kind of like Princeton went into a bit of a black hole. Like, we didn't hear much other than kind of what you were doing within that, but it wraps up so much of your time. Like you said, you couldn't
Hmm.
develop everything else. And now, you know, I feel like you kind of went into like a mini chrysalis with that. And now you've come back out and done your own stuff. And it just seems like it's catching fire. You know, you've just had like a new explosion of all your efforts. And it's just been cool to
Hmm.
just kind of watch all this stuff. You know, it's amazing because you show what the dedication towards your craft and the dedication of where you want to go in life and the trajectory that you want to take it and just move on it. And you just set up a recipe where anybody can do it. No one can say, I can't do it because of X, Y, and Z, because I mean, you got a tough story to measure up to. If somebody else is going to say, woe is me, I don't have good things going on in my life. Like, well, hear about where my man Princeton came from. Like
Yeah.
you made a lot out of it, man.
Hmm. And you know, I recently have been thinking about, you know, just my journey, you know, coming from being abused and being molested and struggling with deep depression and, you know, being medicated, you know, for most of my early life into my young adult life, you know, and, you know, just the path through gangs and drugs and alcoholism and then my failed suicide attempt. And I look at where I am now. And I always have people ask me, you know, how did you go from being in that space to being where you are now? Like really moving the way you move, creating the way you create, like coming from that, you know, and I always tell them I had to make the decision to become a disruptive force in my life. I had to choose to disrupt everything that did not flow toward that desired goal, to be a better father, to be a better husband, to be a better leader in my personal life so that I could be a better leader in my external life. You know, and the more I begin to study, you know, being a multidimensional leader, being able to impact any person's path or life that crosses your path, the more I begin to understand, you know, and it didn't really hit me as greatly as it has in the recent passing weeks, you know, just what a disruptive force I am, not because I've done anything that makes me more special than anyone else, but because I've dedicated myself to disrupting anything that makes me comfortable being less than what I have the potential to be. And so when I set my mind to something, you know, even when I work with my clients, you know, I always tell them like I'm not the coach or guide you come to. You know, if you want a coach or guide or whatever, it's like I've been struggling with those two names. Like, you know, what am I? I was talking to my friend Tara, one of my assistants. I was talking to her recently, and I was like, none of those names like really resonate with me. You know, mastery coach or mastery guide, or I'm not a guru. I'm none of these things. And I said, you know, I don't think I can be defined, but if I were to use a word, and it's a word I've been using a lot lately, just looking back over my life, I'm a disruptor. You know, and you can't be around someone like me and not have your comfortable mediocrity disrupted. You can't be around me and not feel challenged to be that next level version of yourself, because the only thing I'm ever going to speak to is that version of you. I'm not going to talk to your problems. I'm not going to talk to your issues. I'm not going to ask you a bunch of questions about who, what, when, and how. I'm going to talk to you now about what you are now and what you have the potential to do now, because the only thing that ever matters, and I know you're huge on talking about the power of now, you know, the only thing that ever matters is right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who are you right now? You are literally defining that with every action you create and take in this moment, you know? And so, you know, moving into this very accepted disruptive space in my life now, you know, I've just owned it. You know, before now, I didn't want to use the word, you know, disruptor, because I didn't want to be looked at like, who does he think he is? But that was an imposter mindset. Like, you know, every great person that's ever come through history that disrupted a society, you know, they had to first see themselves as being the possible change. You know, and so I look at the world, I look at the coaching industry, I look at, you know, all the areas of entrepreneurship, so many people moving out into the world, trying to advance and create their own space. You know, I look at relationships, and I see so many areas in people's lives that limit them, that need to be disrupted. And yeah, you know, I had to be a disruptive force. It started with me. I couldn't be that leader or that light in the world if I didn't become that light for myself first. And that's why I move the way I do. That's why I expedite my growth.
You're definitely a pioneer in the way that you reach it, and I think that's what's resonated with me and drawn me so close to you over the past few years. Was I just see us having very similar mindsets, that just like
Hmm.
something's out there, I'm gonna go snatch it and I'm gonna grab it and I'm gonna do it faster and better than anybody else, you know. But
Hmm.
being that disruptor, that's literally what I've tried to do as well. And I had to shed the judgments of what that meant, just kind of like you did with, you had to go in a different direction than what other people were doing because that's what the world needed. They didn't need another Tony or another Dean or another anybody else, because they had the one and only Princeton.
Yes.
And that's what mattered most. And I had to kind of see that, see the example and be like, you know what, that's exactly what I have to do. Instead of trying to do something that's going to be a cookie cutter of what I think people want to hear so I don't offend people and go with the flow. Just like I told you when we were talking about the political stuff, like I'm kind
Hmm.
of tired of just having people be happy because I'm making a decision that's going to make them happy. Like I got to make the best decisions and make the best. And so, that inspired me. But I want to double back to something else you said about the comfortable mediocrity. Like that is something that I think literally every single person needs to have, whether they're comfortable and they just want one of those kind of lives where it is just mediocre. I think so many people need to have their mediocrity disrupted in some way. You don't have to go out
Mm-hmm.
there and be a Princeton where you're jumping up on this huge stage or do stuff like I'm doing. But I think everybody, no matter how they operate in their lives, needs to have that mediocrity shaken up. And when you do, and you push through it and you see what's on the other side, you find that satisfaction of living life. Like even in
Mm-hmm.
just smallest quantities, I think it's such a valuable lesson to just get the juice out of life that way.
Yes, yes. I'm glad you went back to that too, because even as I was saying that, it kind of popped in my head. Um, but I think a lot of people, and I'm glad you also mentioned that, not everybody has to do what I'm doing or has to do what you're doing, but I always say, ask yourself, am I truly happy in my life? Do I truly have peace? Do I truly have joy? Do I truly feel like I am living my life and not surviving my life? If you can't say yes to each one of those things, you are in a state of comfortable mediocrity. You are comfortably uncomfortable in your life and you're choosing to accept it. Now, there are certain people, and I call these the rare breed individuals like yourself, like myself, who believe and who know that they are here for a great purpose. They know that they are here to give birth to something. They are here to leave something to this world, and they are waking up every day seeking that path that's going to allow them daily to leave a legacy. A legacy of love, a legacy of connection, a legacy of compassion, a legacy of healing. A legacy that's going to not only impact their children, but also a legacy that's going to impact other people's children's children. Those are the rare breed, the innovators, the anomalies, and I think for them, and I know there's probably quite a few who are listening to your podcast right now, you know, for those of you who feel like, you have something great to give birth to, I just want to give you guys some love right now, but I want to challenge you in this moment because this is a challenge that I've had to issue to myself. And I'm going to go back to the other people who maybe they just want to have the love, the joy, the peace, and they don't really feel like they're called to do anything great, but they're not happy truly being where they are. But for the rare breeds, individuals, each one of you brings something different that you've been called to seed into this world. And the thing about a seed is you got to nurture that seed. You got to really pay attention to who you're surrounding yourself with, the conversations you're having, the music you listen to. Like you are pure energy connecting to energy. And if you are not monitoring that, what sets your soul on fire? Because a lot of times we get too in our heads. When you have this idealistic vision, you want to change the world, and maybe you see something that you could do, but you haven't fully found your purpose in it. I think it's very important to take a step back for a moment and get out of your head, be less in your head, be more in your heart. And I know it's so easy and it sounds so esoteric to say, get into your heart. We get so used to hearing these things all the time, but I really want to challenge you. And this goes for everybody, by the way, not just this next level of people, but even more so for this next level of people, because I think people who truly have this idealistic view or perspective of what they want to create in the world, what they want to manifest, they spend so much time externally viewing what's already in the world and assessing the external and then assessing themselves to compare. And this creates this comparison mentality where they then start judging themselves because they're not moving fast enough, or maybe it's not manifesting fast enough, or maybe they're missing opportunities that they feel like other people are getting, and they start asking questions like, when is my opportunity going to come? You're too in your head, and the reason you aren't fully stepping into what's available to you, the reason you aren't stepping into the provision for that vision is because you spend so much time in your head and you're not in your heart. In our last session through the mentorship program, we talked about intuition,
Mm-hmm.
like listening to that small, still voice that's talking every single day. When you truly know that you've been called to do something great, you can't manifest that greatness without listening to your heart. You can't manifest that greatness without getting into a quiet space and saying, you know what, it's just me. It's just me in this space. And having those deep conversations with yourself and asking yourself. We talked about the fact that we always know. how we're showing up or failing to show up. A lot of the times, facing ourselves is the toughest thing to do, though.
Yep.
So for all the rare breed individuals, I want to challenge you guys, really get quiet, get out of your head. And I need you to say to yourself, nothing else exists but me in this moment. And I need you to take a deep breath in this moment right now. And I need you to just ask if there's an area where you feel agitated or you feel like a door isn't opening or where you feel like you have a bad relationship relationally with another person or with money or with things. I need you to ask each one of those areas, understanding that every one of those aspects of your life are like an energetic branch. Energy is not flowing or it is flowing and it's creating the fruit or not creating the fruit. But I need you to ask those energetic branches, why or why is my relationship not good with you right now? Why am I not seeing the fruit in the area of you that I'm meant to see? And I want you to start really getting deep into that space. And there's so much I can say about that. And Heath can tell you that, but, really get heart centered for all these next level leaders, people who feel like they have a great purpose. Get into your heart and don't just say it, spend time there talking to yourself. Look at your life. At the end of the day, if you didn't get a certain result, ask yourself, what actions did I take? And what actions can I take better tomorrow? And become consistent because it's an everyday thing. I didn't evolve in my life not committing to it every single day. Every time doors open up for me, people are like, how the hell did that happen? It didn't happen overnight. I saw a lot of what's happening for me now. I saw it over a decade and a half ago, but I stayed with it. There were times I wanted to give up, but I stayed with it. I stayed consistent. And I think when you want to move out of that place of comfortable mediocrity, you have to get yourself into a state of being in a thought process of it's inevitable. Like you can't tell me that my greatness isn't going to manifest. It's inevitable to me because I feel it in my heart. I've embodied that belief. It's inevitable to me. It doesn't matter what challenge comes. It doesn't matter what happens when I wake up in the morning. It's inevitable to me. It's got to happen because I'm happening. It's got to happen. The provision has to be there because I was given the vision. And man, there's so much. I feel like we could go so deep into that, but just to honor the time, I want to go back, to also those other people who are just seeking love, who are just seeking peace, who are just seeking joy. They just want to be happy in their life. And I just want to let you guys know, because I know sometimes you guys feel like, well, I haven't really been called to be anything great or to do anything great. Just because you don't feel like you have been called to maybe impact the world on a major level or anything like that, you have been called to live this life. You have been called to show up, to evolve in love, which is the greatest call of all. Some of us just have the ability to use that and take it to another level. We've been given different gifts, different abilities, but every breath you take is a gift. This whole journey for all of us, as me being in this place right now, I'm speaking to you to light that fire in you so that you can love yourself more greatly, so that you can show up for yourself, for your family, to create a life that you truly enjoy living. Whether you are, a Mother Teresa, a Martin Luther King, a Tony Robbins, it doesn't matter. Or whether you're just the person who lives, in the country somewhere who just wants to live a good life, or you're in a city and you just want to enjoy the moments, but you're too busy looking at things externally. The same thing applies to that rare breed of individual. Look within your heart. How are you showing up in your life right now? Are you showing up in a way to appease people, to appease your surroundings or your circumstances? Or are you waking up every single day to love yourself more? Are you waking up every single day today to say, even though I may not be where I want to be today, I'm better? Because life is about evolution. Truly living your life is about evolving daily, becoming a better version of yourself today. Not saying that your current version is negative or wrong or bad, because really those are all labels that we define, but they really don't exist. They're mental frameworks. But just to say that where you are right now, you have the potential to be better, to evolve into a stronger, wiser, more gifted version of yourself in the way that you create your life. And, I think that's important to mention because we're on the Live This Life podcast. So many people look at other people's lives and they're like, man, I wish I had that life. And I always tell people, don't ever say that. Go on a journey, find what's special about your life. Pick up a book, take a journey, go on a trip. If you can't go on a trip, I always say in the beginning, I didn't have a lot of money. I sat there and I would read, and that was my escape, but I wasn't reading for the sake of reading. I was reading to escape the reality that I was in so that I could see a bigger picture than the one that I had currently created,
Mm.
and so, man, there's a lot that I can say about that too, but this is an interview, so.
But like what you just said about live this life, like when I had the concept for that title, what I didn't want it to become though was people reading that or listening to maybe anything that I had going on or what maybe someone like you had. Don't live that life. Don't live the life that Prince is living. Don't live this life that I'm living. Live the one that you have. Live this one that you're in, listening to this podcast, living a life. Like that was one of the biggest things, is just that title was what I wanted to make sure people understood, because everyone's path is different. And just like I have a friend who happens to be like a scuba instructor in like Bermuda that I went to high school with.
Hmm.
And I look at his life and, he's out there like taking bachelorette parties on scuba dives and all that kind of stuff. He's 40 years old now. I look at the life he gets to live. I'm like, dude, you're in the tropics. You're doing what you do. It's amazing. He's like, look at you. You got a beautiful family and a gorgeous home and you got all this stuff going on. I envy
Yeah.
you. Everybody always thinks like, man, I wish I could be up on the stage. But at a certain like point in my life right now, I'm wishing that I could be the type of person like you were just talking about that could have an outpouring of love, that's their goal in life. And that's a major accomplishment. So I think across the
Hmm.
spectrum, reaching for those goals in your life in those senses is just, it's all scaled to what's important to you.
Hmm. And I think it starts from there, right? Because at the end of the day, I can't give to the world more than I give to those closest to me. I can't give to the world more than I give to myself. What I'm creating in the world, whether it's on a small scale or a large scale, is a product of what I'm giving to my inner world. And I always say the legacy that I leave for myself, is something that I calculate daily. What's the legacy that I leave for my kids? What's the legacy that I leave for my fiance? What's the legacy that I leave for my extended family? What's the legacy? See, because it's like there's levels to the layers of that. Now, I know some people may say, well, I don't have a huge family. I don't have a lot of family. It's just me. Go out and meet people, connect to people, find things that you're truly interested in, and find circles where there are people who are interested in those things. Because family doesn't have to be blood. I have plenty of soul family. Heath is my soul family, and he's probably more like a brother to me than some of my own family
Mm-hmm.
members. And when I look at that, I look at the fact that if I had never put myself out there, if I'd never loved myself enough to evolve, I would have never met my soul family in Heath, or his beautiful family. That would have never happened. And so for those of you who may feel like you're alone living this life, and you don't really feel like you have someone that you can leave a legacy to, so it's like, why try? There are plenty of people. It's a reason why you've been given certain gifts, certain passions, certain things that light your heart on fire, because all of those things are doorways into the lives of other people. That you have soul family all over this world who care about, who get lit on fire about the same things that you do. But if you never break free out of that bubble that you've created for yourself, you'll never connect to those people. It doesn't mean they don't exist. You don't have to be alone. You're connecting to this podcast. You can connect to Heath on social media. You can connect to me on social media. I know, we're getting ready to work on some things together. Start building your tribe. And a lot of times we hear that word, your vibe attracts your tribe, or that phrase, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of become one of those sayings, people just say it sounds like a great quote, but really it's true. Like your energy, your state of flow is going to determine what you flow into, the connections you flow into, the opportunities, the doorways, the gifts, and so get outside of that flow, break that mediocre, mundane reality that you're creating for yourself, because you are capable of so much more. You are a divine creator, creating in every breath, through every decision, through every word, every thought, every idea. And if you're looking around your life right now, for those of you, as I said, who feel like you don't have family, you don't have someone to leave someone to, you're not in a relationship, all I say is you have a clear whiteboard in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Your life is your canvas. With each breath, you become something new. The breath is the paint, the body is the brush, the world is the canvas. And so imagine that, because you don't have those things, you have a empty canvas in all those areas, that you literally have opportunities to go out and create a work of art in. But the question is, will you do it? How bad do you truly want to live this life? And I think that's a question we really have to ask ourselves and dive into. And that's why I love this podcast, because that's what you do.
That's why I kept that little catchphrase that I had in the beginning, and I've kept it through every iteration of the intro that I have. Are you living or are you killing time? Because
Mm,
it's whatever makes you light up, that makes you feel alive. And if you're not doing that, what are you doing? You're really just killing time. You're just kind of waiting for tomorrow and whatever is going to be after it. And you're waiting for something to show up. You're just waiting for time to just keep on passing, except
hmm
other people like you and I, we're out there literally making something happen every single day. And like you said, if you're making the connections, if that's what you're doing to make things happen, then so be it. Make those connections in life, whether they're virtual, whatever. We've all made virtual connections in the last year, like
Yeah.
I became good friends with a guy who's another one of my mentors, Ben Carroll. Like I've known him for years. He's a lead guitarist in my favorite band. And, him and I just chatting much more over the course of a lot of time. And then as soon as kind of COVID was over, I'm like, dude, I'm coming up to Maine. He's like, yep, dude, come up to Maine. Like we got together as soon as possible. Like making those connections is just one of the best things you can possibly do, whether it's virtual or otherwise. But
hmm
yeah, I mean, COVID did a number on everybody though. I mean, COVID just put everybody in that isolation.
Yeah.
I think it gave people a lot of opportunity to take stock of what's next. It was just kind of
hmm
that incubation period where they couldn't do much or go anywhere, but they got to sit there and say, like, as soon as this is over, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
What was that for Princeton? Like I know you were still busy throughout the whole thing, but what were some of the things that you just were ready to break out through, or what were the growth periods that you kind of felt like you went through
Ah,
during this whole thing?
man, I'm gonna be honest, because I was still busy, working with clients, coaching people all over the world. Like that was great, because I still had that connection, and a lot of people didn't. But man, the thing for me was, I missed the in person, like hugs. Like
Yep.
I'm a big hugger,
Yep.
like being around people. I'm more of an in person than I am a virtual person.
Yeah.
And though I've had to pivot to use social media more to build my engagement and to really connect to those that follow me or that I've connected to, there's nothing like having in-person events, meeting people, traveling, and going to different places. Speaking of, I got to get out there to see you, brother, or you got to come
Yeah.
out here.
Yeah,
Uh,
either or. I kind of want to get out there, but I also want you to get out here. I know I kind of like joked before. I'm like, dude, you don't want to come to Massachusetts, but no, it's a beautiful place. It's got its flaws like anywhere else, but
Man, I want to go fishing, man. I
oh
want to
my
go
God.
fishing and spend some time on the water. That's my heart. Like I haven't been fishing in over 12 years. Notice how the country comes back fishing. Uh, no, I haven't been fishing in over 12 years, and I was recently talking about that. And this is Arizona. Unless I go up north, I'm in the
Yeah.
desert.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, we got to take a fishing trip, brother.
And that's part of my self-care that I've had with so much stuff that I have going on. I'm busier now than I've ever been in my life. And I consistently say that like year after year, with maybe the occasional slump in the last few years when I was, sort of having like the retraction type period. But part of my self-care in being all that busy is I've just made a dedicated effort to say, I'm going to go out. Like there was a time
hmm
span with 5, 6 years that I never just took a Saturday morning and went fishing. Well, Memorial Day weekend, it was a monsoon all 3 days of Memorial Day weekend. I took a raincoat. I got up at like 5 a.m. and I was on the rivers, tromping through the woods, doing brook fishing the whole time. And it was magic because I didn't have any music with me. I just literally let myself just kind of like be where I was, and it was magic. But those are just the examples of like doing the things that would light you up no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Talking about making connections with people, but like just dedicating that time to do, like, what, I'm gonna do it. And you don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
Phone went on do not disturb, and I was like, left a note, I'm going fishing, and left it on the countertop. I would
I'm
love to have you come
lovingly,
with me though.
oh man, I'm lovingly jealous right now, because that just sounds so beautiful. But yeah, we got to do that, man. I mean,
Oh
and that
yeah.
leads back to what you just said, self care. that self-care, the self-love, doing the things that you love, not doing the things that you think other people want to see, or that you think, would make you look like something, in the world or to other people, but
Mhm.
doing the things that truly make you happy. You ever look at a little child who every day, and we talked about this before, every day is an adventure. They wake up every day and they're not thinking about what I'm going to say. Like, I have a 10-month-old, well, 11-month-old now. You think she wakes up every day like, I wonder what my dad's going to say if I do this? No, she's going to do what she wants to do until I pick her up. Like, I literally can pick her up, walk her across the room and say, no, Kamaya. And she will get up and she will crawl right back to that same spot because it's an adventure for her. She's like, I'm experiencing something new every single day. And I think as we grow more mature in age, we lose that sense of adventure and it doesn't disappear. We live in a world that most of us have barely seen 1% of.
Mhm.
Like, there is so many experiences and we have the freedom to experience it. And people say, well, I don't have money to travel. Well, there are churches, missions that literally you can travel the world to be of service and get to experience other countries. And you don't even have to pay anything. They will sponsor you to do it. Like, I think a lot of times we just make those excuses, man. We
Mhm.
make excuses because we've allowed ourselves to be conditioned or to be domesticated, as Don Miguel Ruiz would say, into believing that this is just our life. And now I gotta settle with it. And you don't know what I've been through, and you don't know what challenges I've faced. And if you just listen to that, even as I say it, the energy of that is so low. It's no
Mm.
wonder so many people struggle with depression. They take their energy so low. Depression isn't something that happens overnight. It's something that happens as a result of you putting your energy in a very low state for a prolonged period of time. And then as a result, you move into depression. And because you've now habitually done it for so long, that's why it's hard to get out. It's not that, oh, I need medication now. No, you need to change your habits. And I can say that because I struggled with depression. I was on medication. I stopped taking the medication because I knew at the end of the day, the medication wasn't going to change my reality. Only I could change my reality. Granted, I took myself off the medication. The next thing you know, I tried to commit suicide, but that was my wake up call. Had that not happened, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Mhm.
I was blessed to not have gotten to that point. But you don't have to experience that. You don't have to lock your life in. You don't have to stay on medication. You just have to learn how to create new experiences. And if you don't know how to do that, reach out to people. Stop feeling like you got to live this life alone. Stop holding on to past traumas where people didn't show up for you, where people stabbed you in the back, or where you were alone or you were abused. Stop holding on to that stuff as a reason for why you don't reach out to people now. Because the people you connect to today are going to open doors for your tomorrow. But you got to be open to do that. And that's one lesson I had to learn, but it's a part of that journey, that self care, that self love, making yourself available and being willing to be vulnerable to your life. Like, you make yourself vulnerable to pain. You make yourself vulnerable to fear. You make yourself vulnerable to worry. And then you wonder why you keep creating this insanity that only keeps regurgitating more of the same.
Mhm.
Until you change, it's like the saying, until you change the way you see things, then the things that you see will never change. But if you change the way you see things, the things that you see will change. But it starts with looking in yourself and really assessing your life and saying, is this really what I want to create with my life? Is this really what I'm willing to settle with? Because you have a choice and you're always one choice away from change.
It's so true. So true. Some of the greatest things that I've had were things that terrified me.
Mhm.
Some of the greatest lessons, some of the greatest decisions that I've made, and it's pretty much been since you and I have connected. Every decision that I've made to move on something that scared me, or something I just thought to myself like, wow, that seems really uncomfortable. I've done it. I said I was never going to get into
Mhm.
politics. I've said it so many times. So when I did, people were like, thought you said you were never going to get into politics. I did it because I didn't want to do it, but I knew that if I did do it, I would likely do well in it because I don't like to have the exception of defeat. And like with
Mhm.
this podcast, this terrified the hell out of me. And I really didn't want to do it at the start. And
Mhm.
there are some days, like you said, where I'm like, why am I still doing this? Like it's, like it's something, what is it that's pushing you forward? Well, it's because I know, in the end, these are all beneficial things I'm either doing for myself, others, whatever it is, but it's that uncomfortableness, that you push through. And usually some of the greatest things, we always make those sports analogies. You and I are always making the weight room analogies and all that kind of stuff. And it's like that extra pain turns into some amazing growth and strength on the other side. And I wish everybody could just get that message, everybody who just doesn't have the good stuff in their life where they can sit back every day and they don't feel like they have the gratitude. You give them the gratitude exercises of give thanks to everything to start your day. It just puts you in that right vibe. And people are like, what if I just don't have anything to be grateful for? It's like
you're breathing.
Yeah. Everybody has something to be grateful for, as much as you think you don't. Some of the people in the worst places and the worst circumstances have something to still be grateful for.
And I'm glad you hit on that. That's such a great point. And we were talking about this recently too. You can't, there's someone out there who wishes they had your situation.
I know.
Like that, you want to talk about humbling? Like, that's what I think about when every time I even part my lips to complain about something, it's like it immediately punches it back into my mouth. Like there is someone who wishes they had your situation right now. You don't have the right to complain. You're breathing right now. Someone didn't wake up today. Okay.
Yeah.
So shut up. What are you going to do to honor the breath that you have right now? And that's how I talk to myself. I need to go to an interview, but I don't have clothes to wear. Someone out there literally wears cloth and carries a bucket on their head every single day just to get water.
Yeah.
Like, shut up. Like, really, first world problems, guys. Like we are so comfortable here in America. We are comfortably uncomfortable to the point of misery. But we ignore it because as long as we're getting fat and out of shape, yes, I'm going to say it, as long as we're living less of a life, and we're conditioned to do that, then we give ourselves the right to blame everybody else that we've given our responsibility away to for all the problems that we have, all the things that are not manifesting for our life. But the truth is, you are the root to the tree of your life. And if it's not manifesting, if you're complaining about it, I always say, don't complain about the results you're not getting from the actions you don't take. If you're not waking up every single grateful, let's just start with the breath in your body today. Somebody did not wake up. Somebody yesterday had a dream, had a vision, and because of recklessness or a disease or something, they were taken away from this world. But you woke up today. Don't you dare complain about where you are in your life, because life is still telling you you are still worth it to me. So if life is still giving you breath, this thing that comes freely, and it's giving it to all the people that are alive right now, all the people that are listening to this podcast right now, life is telling you that you are worth it, but you don't see yourself as being worth it. And that's why you complain. It comes back to that self-esteem, self-worth. And then we deflect to what's happening in our lives or what's happened in our lives or what's happening in the world. No, the issue is how you're choosing to show up or not show up for yourself. Again, I was abused mentally, physically, verbally, and emotionally as a child. I was molested between the ages of 9 and 11, struggled with deep depression, started writing notes and letters about committing suicide in high school. My mom found it. I went to see a psychiatrist. They put me on medication. I was on medication for attention deficit disorder and ADHD from first grade all the way to 8th grade until I took myself off of it because I didn't like the way it made me feel. Ended up in gangs, ended up on drugs, was an alcoholic before the age of 21, been in shootouts, been in fights, seen people shot right next to me. Don't dare, I don't hear the complaints from people, man. I have a really hard time, unless you've been somewhere worse than me, I have a really hard time listening to people's excuses, because I know that there are people, we don't even have to go into the human trafficking, people who are truly in bondage and they don't have a choice. Literally all they can do is say, thank you that I'm alive today. That's all they can do, because they don't know if they're going to be alive at the end of the day, because they don't even control their life. But if you are not in bondage, nobody is dictating or controlling what your life can or cannot be. You don't have room to complain. You don't have room to make excuses. Either you show up for yourself or you don't show up for yourself. And this is how I talk to my clients, because you can't get to a level that I've gotten to, and I'm not even a half the way to where I have the potential to go, but every day I'm getting closer, because every day I'm showing up as something new in my life. Every day when I face a challenge, I embrace that challenge and I say, thank you. Thank you for showing me where I've been comfortable. Thank you for showing me where I could have made excuses. Thank you for showing me where I need to grow or where I need to level up, because that's the only reason challenges come. That's the only reason we face and have to grow through the different circumstances, fears, worries, doubts, and all these mental programs that we've created through trauma or through different life experiences. That's the only reason those things are given to us on our life path curriculum, so that we can level up and truly learn to be grateful, truly learn to love ourselves, truly learn to live this life. And, if you're not ready to do that, then you are wasting your breath. Like I tell people, some people just got to get hit so hard till the only place they can look is up, and I don't wish that on anyone. If you have breath in your body right now, start being grateful for that breath and ask yourself every day, what am I going to do with it?
Mm-hmm. It's so many people do that in so many different ways. So many people
Mm-hmm.
don't appreciate life until it's either almost ripped from them, something tragic happens. But that's the journey that a lot of us had to be on. I know that I was from that perspective as well. I didn't get
Mm-hmm.
kicked in the right direction until I kind of felt like I had nowhere to go and I was at the rock bottom. And it happens with a lot of people. Sometimes they just have to find that path, but that's the painful route, like you can
Yeah.
listen, you can go these other routes. I mean, there's the concepts of Kensho and Satori. I've been looking into that one a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
I forgot which one's which, but one of them is the path of learning things through pain, and the other one is learning things through more of a state of flow, and not so much learning things but really progressing in life. You can do it through the whole painful process, and we both know what that's like. Or take the other route, listen to some of the advice, follow people like
Mm-hmm.
Princeton, and you're able to get into the flow and have that same acceleration, instead of it's like the stock market where it goes up and it bounces down and then it goes up a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more and it's higher than its peak was before, but then there's a crash. That's the
Yeah.
tough route. A nice steady one where it's on a constant incline with little waves, like that's the easier route that people should really look for. And there's a way to get there. I wish I had
Definitely.
found it. I wish I had that mindset before, some of the tough times, but hopefully that's what conversations like this, and like your vibe attracts your tribe. Well, we're part of people's tribe. If they're listening to this, if they listen to you, if they listen to podcasts like this, we are officially part of their tribe. And this is
Mm-hmm.
exactly all I had at a certain point. I was surrounded by, very negative mindsets of people. All you got to do is just kind of turn your attention this way. You just got to turn your
Yeah.
attention away from those negative things, and those people, the advice, the places, the books, everything. It's all out there.
Yeah.
Like Clubhouse. That's another thing we've been kind of wish I could be busier than I have been, because most of the
Mm-hmm.
time I'm jumping on and I'm like listening from work, and I'll get the invite to be a moderator in there and I'll be like, yeah, I'm good to go. And all of a sudden the phone rings and I got to like bail out on or something. But if you guys are on Clubhouse, look Princeton up on there. I'm on there as well, but I've got nowhere near as huge of a following as Princeton has. I get as busy as I possibly can be on there, but some of the conversations and the power circle that Princeton has started with Chris and Tara, I mean, both of them are awesome to have on your team.
Yeah.
Awesome facilitators. But if you're not on Clubhouse and you're looking for that tribe, get on there, because sometimes Princeton will just drag people up on that stage and you're not just a listener. You're not like on the one-way channel like you are right here with this podcast listening to it. You're potentially going to come up on stage and you're going to talk with everybody. You're going to hop on the mic and you're going to get it out there.
Yeah, I actually have, because it's an invite only platform, and it's open to Android and iPhone now, but I have 7 invites, and so if you guys add me on Instagram at Princeton Clark, the first 7 people to message me, let me know you heard me on the Live This Life podcast, and I'll send you an invite if you want to join Clubhouse. And you can also reach out to people that that may be on the app as well. But it's definitely, I think Clubhouse is an amazing app because it's leveled the playing field. I always
Mm-hmm.
say there's no hierarchy. It's just people having a conversation. And I mean, you've been in the rooms. Like I don't feel like anyone that comes in that room can't be on the stage. Of course, you're starting to get some of the bots and the scammers that come on and they just want to yell when you bring them up. So if I don't know them, that's one thing that I've paid close attention to. Like I've vetted people that come on my stage. I've spoken to them before. They've come frequently. I see them in the audience. I'll go through their bios and I read about them. I'll go to their Instagram, and I read about them. And then if I like what they're doing, a lot of times I'll invite them up whether they request it or not. because I just want to create a stage where there's so many different agents of change in this world that can pour into people, because I feel like we as humanity, we're so divided right now. And I don't just do that on Clubhouse, I also do it on other platforms, when I'm on live or something like that. Like I'll bring people on live with me and we just have a conversation. I'll coach people live, but we as humanity were not designed to flow disconnected the way that we are. We were designed to flow together. And that's one area, even in the coaching industry, I feel like everybody's so busy trying to be a copy of a copy. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, own your own unique beauty, own your own unique genius. There is something seeded into you that isn't seeded into anybody else on this planet that only you can give birth to. Like, own that, and then bring your genius to the world. And I think that's huge. It's so important to bring the soul aspect back to what it is that we do, as individuals, learning to love my neighbor as myself. I don't see people as different from me. I see them as spirits having different journeys that I can learn from. Everyone knows something that I don't know. And I think that's why, podcasts are great, but then having somewhere like Clubhouse where you can go on, you can actually have conversations and get on stage and talk to people that you never would have thought you would ever talk to before. That's what makes that so special, but I'm creating virtual spaces like over Zoom, and a lot of things are on the way, so if you guys are out there and you're like, man, I'm really just looking for a tribe of powerful people who are going to push me to thrive and truly live my life, then I mean, reach out to Heath, reach out to me, and we'll give you guys that information, of course. But we're here to serve. We're here to love you guys and to help you really show up so you can live this life.
Yeah, and one thing I'll mention is like right now I'm in the midst of Princeton's mentorship program, the 6 weeks mentorship program, and so I've seen Princeton do all the different programs that he's got over the years, and I want to take advantage. And this is probably the worst time in my life to attempt to try to do that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I just want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad I did. And the conversations, I feel bad because sometimes you'll ask me a certain question. I feel like I've kind of gone off on the tangents, but then I've had some of the people message me after we get out of that group and be like, what you bring to it is great. What Princeton brings to it is great. And I just feel like you guys together, like I forgot who it was that messaged me, but they were like, the things that you guys say, just the way that you guys have been bouncing certain things off, it's gotten me to really like motivated. I can't wait for the next thing. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's something I haven't been able to tell you yet, but I'm glad I can at least tell you on the show. And if
That's
anybody's
awesome.
looking for something like that, head to Evolve Mastery and check it out, because I'm only halfway through the mentorship program, and it's one of the shorter I think one of the shorter things that you have, because I know you
Yeah.
have the 12-week course that we can talk about in a second. But actually, if you want to talk about the 6-week one real quick, because I know this one we're in the middle of, but you run them fairly frequently. Once one's over, you start another one. Why don't you fill
Yeah, they
people in on what it
piggyback.
is?
So the 6 week mastery course is just a deep dive, into number one, going back to the root of understanding what you are, what your power, true power, potential, and purpose is in this world, and then we just go through the process of really looking at the deeper pillars of your life, really mastering your mind, mastering your body, understanding intuition, showing up and really maximizing your potential and your ability to flow personally and professionally in your life, so on and so forth. So that's really it's the 6 week mentorship program is meant to not only level you up but bring you back to center, understanding what you are and the directive and the direction that your life has the potential to go in, and then kickstart you, so to speak, to level you up. And then of course the 12 week, I actually just changed this because I was doing the 12-month program where it was one call a month, but then when the upcoming events that we're getting ready to do, Reboot Your Destiny is the event, in-person event that we're getting ready to do in September here in Arizona and Scottsdale. Details will be coming out about that soon. That'll also be on the evolvedmastery.com website. Um, so if you guys want to stay tuned, go there. Or you can also follow me at Princeton Clark on Instagram. And we just started, I transitioned Evolved Mastery on Instagram to another profile because we're getting ready to build a team of coaches. The content is about to change. And so I made the Evolved Mastery page just the Princeton Clark. So if you want to find me on Instagram, my main page is at Princeton Clark. And then you can also follow at Evolved Mastery. We haven't really put anything there yet, but we got a lot that's about to come. But there's just so much, so I have the 6 week, the 12 week, and we're also putting together a year-long coaching program, and we also have a 5-day challenge that's coming up in the first 2 weeks of July. So reach out to me if you guys would like any of that information. He can also put my email in the text down here if you guys want to reach out to me. But if you want to write it down, it's pclark@evolvedmastery.com, and just let the headliner of that email be program and event info, and then I'll respond to it as I see those come in. But yeah, man, there's a lot, but I want to honor your time, brother.
Yeah, I mean, we'll wrap it up in a few. But the retreat that you've got coming up, I know it's still in the works, and I know you've bumped it off a little bit into September, which kind of intrigues me. Yeah, now that your time frame's kind of changed, I might be able to swing that. I might actually be able to make that happen. And I've had some money still tied up in the airline with trips I didn't get to take when COVID hit. So I might have some airline miles that I might be able to use to get out to Scottsdale. So we might have to chat about that one. But
Let's go, bro.
what
Yeah,
is
you
the
got to
what
get out
is
here, man.
what is the retreat that you have in the works? What is the general gist of what that's going to be like?
Okay, so the retreat is going to be called Reboot Your Destiny. And so, if you think about the word, I'm big on words, rebooting, understand that, we get into this flow. We start following the programs of our life as we're waking up every single day, chasing our goals. It's for high level entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs, people who are really looking to step into their purpose, but they need a massive reboot. Computer systems, when you have too many programs that are running, it starts to weigh on the interface. It starts to take away the energetic flow or digital RAM to run other programs more efficiently, and it starts to slow down your system. Well, there's a lot of people who are high functioning, who have the ability or who have an idealistic vision for what they want to manifest, but they're not moving as efficiently as they have the potential to or the power to, because they're still using or running all these other programs that are affecting their ability to truly show up and flow efficiently in the different areas that life is requiring them to show up in. And so we're going to take them through a massive mental, spiritual, emotional, physical reboot over the course of 3 days to really push them into their destiny. What does that look like? We're going to dive into what your destiny looks like, and how to truly know when you're walking in your destiny, as opposed to just spinning your wheels, constantly showing up, quote unquote, getting shit done. Tony often says, don't confuse getting shit done with progress. And I think that's why a lot of people get burnt out, because high level and even low level, but especially high level people get so burnt out because they're constantly getting shit done. They're constantly doing this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this. And they have so many programs running in the system of their energy that it's hard that when it's time for them to slow down and really focus on the programs that need to run in order for them to maximize their flow, maximize their put out, or maximize their expansion or evolution, they don't have the bandwidth to be able to do it, but they keep pushing through it anyway. And that's what ultimately leads to burnout. They're frying their circuits, so to speak. But it's going to be a 2.5 day, might as well say 3 day event, where we're just going to dive into this reboot process, and it's going to be powerful. I can promise you, you've never been to an event like this. I know Tony has his events, but you've never been to one of my events. And anybody who knows me will tell you, I don't know how to come in any other way but to bring the fire, and you're not going to be around me. We're doing something different in our events, though, because one thing that I always say, like, you can't be around me and not be impacted, but I'm also a high touch person. You're not going to come to the event, and just see me speak on stage and then I disappear behind the wall somewhere and you don't see me again until it's time to speak. Like, I get out, I mix, I mingle. I have the people, the speakers that are going to be there mix and mingle, and because we know what it's like to be you. We know what it's like to travel that path, and I believe if you're going to charge somebody, a high ticket to come to an event like this, then you should be high touch, and so that's one thing that I'm bringing, because I feel like that's something that needs to change in the industry. I feel like there's a lot of people in the industry that people look up to that are untouchable. And I always say, I never want to be untouchable. Now, I know it gets to a point now, if I could touch everybody, that would be great, but I have to also love myself, give myself space and grace and balance. But I'm creating this event. I'm in control. So I get to dictate how much energy I give out, how much energy I use. So I may have to step away for a few minutes, get some water, grab a snack, go out for lunch, and we can even go out to lunch together, for those who come in VIP and stuff like that. There's going to be options for that as well. But um, yeah, it's going to be a powerful event, man. But more than anything, what I'm looking forward to is the connections that are going to be made, and also the speakers that are going to be there and the impact that they're going to have.
That sounds awesome, man. The whole thing sounds awesome. It's got me kind of fired up. I'm pumped you got it pushed off until the fall, because that opens up some possibilities for me. So looking forward to it. And I'll make sure that we have all the information on how to connect to you and some links to some of these things all in the show notes for the podcast. So we will put it all out there so people can check you out and look at everything you've got going on, especially if this is the first time they've ever heard of you. New listeners who might not have heard the first episode. If you haven't heard the first episode where we went more in depth into Princeton's story, I mean, he goes into the whole thing about where he came from and how triumphant of a story it was. Go check that. I think it's episode 16. I think it's I think it was the first episode of Finding Life, a little series that I did with some people coming on and telling their stories. But go check that one out if you haven't already. But yeah, it's been awesome having you, man. I love the conversations that we have, and a great thing is just having the connect and to have you there even more often. I remember getting off with the last interview that we did, and then you kind of got busy with your stuff, and it was just kind of like there was no Princeton for a while. But I appreciate I've appreciated our connection so much. Like I said, it's one of, if not the most valuable one that I've made in the last 3 years, and probably made the most impact on how much my life has drastically shifted and how much more fulfilling and what I'm able to actually bring to the world in a whole different way as well. So, I mean, if anything, like I said, if I just change one person's life with what I'm doing, the way you've changed mine, then it's all worth it. I find that one person who's had it, it's all worth it. So thank you. I'm eternally grateful for everything that you do, man.
Hey, likewise, man. I always say the greatest form of repayment for anyone in my position is to watch a life be transformed and to watch somebody light up and start moving in what they're gifted in. So you repay me every single day, man. Every time you show up, every time you impact one of those lives, you're paying it forward, but you're also paying it back to me, because it was just a seed sown. And I think for any of us, as we're taking this journey like this and pouring out, the more we pour out, the more we serve. There is nothing greater than knowing you've impacted someone's life. But more than that, they've taken that impact and now they're transitioning it through their gifts, through their abilities, through the doors that they're opening for them, and they're using it to impact someone else's life. Like, that is the greatest blessing, next to learning to truly love yourself, because without that, you wouldn't be able to do those things. So It's an honor, man. I'm blessed by you greatly as well.
All right, brother. I'm excited to see what you got going on next. It's like if you can just take timestamps and jump from 2018 to 2021, I'm excited to see what 2023 is going to have for you and what's in store for you in the future, because it's always a quantum leap every couple of years and seeing how you level up. So,
oh man, we're going international. We're already virtually international right now, but literally I'm about to start traveling internationally. So the next couple of years are going to be intense. I tell people right now, if you're not connecting to me now, you're going to be kicking yourself in the next year or two.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what's going to come out of Evolve Mastery in the Princeton Clark camp and everything you've got going on, man. So best of luck, and I will definitely be there. I want to be there, going as fast as I possibly can to keep up, at least watching the show. But you won't
be watching. You'll be on stage.
I'm hoping so. I will be there. I know things always can change in life so much. So
yes, sir.
All right, my man. I will let you go. Thanks again for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, brother. Talk to you soon.
A huge thanks to my man Princeton for stopping by the show for the second time. Always a pleasure to talk to him. He is an anomaly, the definition of the rare breed. And you can check out everything he's got going on at evolvedmastery.com. And if you have an interesting or inspiring story to tell and you want to be on an episode of the show, hit me up and maybe we can connect. You can reach me at connect@livethislife.org. That's CONNECT at livethislife.org. You can also head over to the show's Calendly to book a time to talk with me at calendly.com/live this life. Until next time, keep living.